Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful, wonderful, historical neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We're so very honored and absolutely delighted that you join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in this mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Amazon Music, Podcast Addict, Audible, CastBox, Player FM. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. We've an absolutely wonderful show lined up for you today. Lauren Magaziner is here to celebrate her new middle grade novel. It's called The Incorruptibles. Later in the show, Ryan Kiscaden is here to celebrate his new picture book. It's called The Air Came to a Stop. Imagine a time before time, when light first touched the world and the animals roamed wild and free. The Day Time Began is a breathtaking picture book that retells the biblical story of creation with vibrant rhyme and rich full-page illustrations. Perfect for ages 2 to 8, this keepsake book features over 160 realistic animals and an online animal ID guide so kids can learn as they explore. With bonus classroom resources and an acted-out story motions online, this book is a gift that brings the beauty of God's creation to life. Give your child a story that stirs up hope in a good and gracious God. The Day Time Began. Available now at thedaytimebegan.com.
Have you outgrown your health insurance plan or just not happy with what you're paying for? The number one reason we all change our health insurance is price. Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Would you like to have better coverage at a better rate or at little or no cost to you? Your life needs are always changing, but have you done anything to improve your health insurance for you and your family? Health insurance laws and coverage are always changing and getting better. It's impossible to do all the research yourself, but now it's all done for you for free. So regardless of your age or medical condition, take a few minutes right now and find out if you can save money or even qualify for zero-cost health insurance in your state. Call now.
Paid for by Cheaper Health Insurance. 800-932-1656. 800-932-1656. 800-932-1656. That's 800-932-1656.
Are you looking for a creative way to bond with your kids? Let me tell you all about Drawing with Your Kids, the ultimate destination for artistic adventures. Join us as we dive into the wonderful world of children's books with renowned illustrators guiding you step by step. From beloved characters to whimsical scenes, unleash your imagination and create cherished memories together. Whether you're a seasoned artist or just picking up a pencil, there's something for everyone at Drawing with Your Kids. Please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Drawing with Your Kids link at the top of the page and let the creativity flow. Drawing with Your Kids, where every stroke brings stories to life. Join us right now from the beautiful city of brotherly love, Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. Our guest is here to celebrate her brand new middle grade novel. It's called The Incorruptibles. Please welcome to the show, Lauren Magaziner. Hey, Lauren, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Jed. I'm so excited to be here.
Delighted to have you on. Middle grade novels, they're so much fun.
They're my favorite.
Yeah. Why is it? We're going to get into the book in a minute, but what is it about this age group and this audience that you love writing for so much?
Well, I actually started writing when I was a middle grader. That That's when I started writing novels. And I feel like I just very vividly remember what it was like to be a kid, and especially that in between stage between being like really young, but not being like a full-fledged teenager yet. Feeling independent, trying to find my way in the world. I just love that these books get to explore that age group and those feelings.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, there's so many different school models. You have the junior high, which is 7 to 12, and then you have the old grammar school, the K to 12, K to 8 model, and then you have the middle schools. I love that both of my kids were able to go to that old time K to 8 model school, because when they got to that in between, that middle grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they were the big kids. They were the kids that all the other kids looked up to and wanted to be, and it gave them a chance to kind of feel empowered and realize that there are other people looking up to them.
I love that. I did not experience that. I did a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade school. So in 6th grade, I felt very young, which was funny because I came from 5th grade feeling so old. And then all of a sudden I was like the youngest in the school again. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm not as old as I think I am. But by the time I was in 8th grade, you're still kind of the head of the school.
So tell us about the Incorruptibles. This has all sorts of magic and sorcery, I understand.
Yes, but it's actually about a world in which people have figured out how to become a sorcerer. Anybody can become a sorcerer, but only the power hungry do it, because magic is basically a tool for oppression. So it's actually a lot about the resistance fighters of the sorcerers called Incorruptibles. And they have an academy where they train kids how to fight magic with technology.
Wow. As a guy who made a living for 35 years doing magic shows in schools, I don't know how I feel about these guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm turning magic on its head. I made magic very evil.
Well, you're not the first, so that's okay. And in reality, that's one of the things that I used to talk about when kids would ask me questions at the end. One of the things that they would ask me is, hey, is magic real? And I would be very upfront with them, say, I'm doing tricks. I learned magic from reading books. You can learn it too. But I always caution them by saying, look, if you meet anybody who tells you they can do real magic, going to put a curse on you, or tells you they can look into the future and talk to your dead relatives, run away from them. They're lying to you.
Yeah.
Where did the inspiration for the Incorruptibles come from?
So it came from a few different things. One was that I had loved books that have like classic hero's journey when I was a kid, where it's like, they tell a kid you're special, they whisk you away, they train you how to use your powers. But I always wondered how those kids did not let that go to their heads, especially as they got more powerful. Because, to be told that you are the chosen one, to be told that you're special, to be told that you're powerful, more powerful than anybody else, like, how did that not inflate their egos? So I was like, well, what if I write sorcerers that did have inflated egos? So it's partially that, and partially a little bit of me witnessing what I felt like was unchecked power in our world, and trying to explore the way that power, when you have it, can be a corrupting force on somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of scary when you watch things happening in the real world that reflect what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. In the notes that I received, I saw that your main character, Fiora, is that her name? Fiora, when she's kind of recruited to join this group, that she's not necessarily accepted right away. There are people suspicious of her.
Yeah, so Fiora joins late. Fiora, the main character, she hates sorcerers. She grew up with her uncle because sorcerers killed her parents when she was 6. But she actually runs into an Incorruptible who sneakily hands her a tool, a lightning blaster, and then later runs into two sorcerers that she doesn't know are sorcerers, accidentally gets into a scuffle with them, uses the lightning blaster, and then is in grave danger because one of the sorcerers has a vendetta against her. So she's whisked away to Ink Academy to train how to fight sorcerers, so that she doesn't get into trouble the next time she runs into this sorcerer who has a problem with her now. So yeah, when she arrives, it's a few months later than everybody else has started term. She didn't have a background check, wasn't vetted. So they kind of let her in on a trial basis. She's got 60 days to prove herself. And at the same time as she arrives, suspicious things start to happen on the missions. So a lot of eyes turn to Fiora and they're like, you arrived at quite a convenient time. So yeah, she really does have to prove herself.
Yeah. Kind of, it almost sounds like Fiora feels a little bit like you did when you went to 6th grade. All of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm not powerful anymore.
Yeah, exactly. She's like a little bit of a fish out of water when she arrives.
Yeah. You know, it's very clear that you have in the Incorruptibles, you have good guys, you have bad guys, and people who you're not quite sure where they land. What kind of characters do you like to write best for? Do you like to write them? Do you like to write those evil characters, or do you prefer writing the good guys?
I think my answer is both. And the reason why, and this is a cheap answer, to say both, but I love writing villains that are nuanced or complicated or interesting. And I love writing good guys that aren't necessarily like fully good or have some sort of, past that can make them more morally nuanced. Because I think that what I was doing with the Incorruptibles is it's a classic good versus evil story, but I tried to turn it on its head by creating nuance. Fiora has to decide how to define evil and also how to define good. And that's sort of the point of it all. There's nothing that is like completely evil versus completely good. A lot of our world exists in the gray area and is messy and nuanced.
I'd say most of our world lies in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is a good age group to start to kind of talk about that with our kids and help them understand that, yeah, things aren't necessarily black and white.
Yeah, I do think it's the perfect age. It's like when Fiora starts the book, she has very rigid ideas of, what is morally good and morally bad. And she tries to lecture her uncle on it actually in the early chapters. And he's like not having it. He says, you don't know anything. And throughout the book, she kind of comes to realize that maybe it is a little bit more complicated than she thought initially, that not everything fits into these neat categories that she had defined for herself and for the world.
Yeah. It kind of sounds like there are a lot of adults these days that need to step back and take a look at that lesson because it seems that a lot of people, all they want to do is say, you're either on my team or you're not on my team. If you're not on my team, I hate you and I don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah, I think that there are definitely degrees. I think that it's, very hard to say, let's agree to disagree to somebody that is infringing upon human rights. But I also think that there's room for discussion about certain things.
Yeah. When you're writing these and creating these worlds, how do you keep things straight? 'Cause even when I'm reading sometimes, it's hard for me to remember the rules of this imaginative universe.
Well, I have a giant whiteboard that helps me out. So little cheat sheet that I can look at. I have a huge list of characters. So this is even though it's narrated by Fiora, it's an ensemble type cast. So there's a lot of main characters here and I have backstories for all of them and different personalities and personality quirks for all of them. So I would make sure that I would write, basically memo to myself of, who everybody is, where they come from, what their backstories are, so that I could keep that all straight as I was writing, and tried to introduce everybody a little bit at a time so that you're never overwhelmed by the sheer number of characters. But by the end, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, that's so many. But for the world building, for the magic, kind of the same thing. I used a whiteboard and I tried to plot out, what that would look like, especially since a lot of the magic has kickbacks. There are side effects. It's like the magic always comes with a cost. There's a price for power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things I read on your website is that you like to work on 4 projects at the same time. I imagine that must complicate that whiteboard.
I actually have 3 different whiteboards.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when they get erased, it's always a big deal because that means I'm ready to move on from that project. Like it's in such a finished state that I don't need the whiteboard anymore. Okay. But yeah, I have 3 different whiteboards for each one for a different project. And yeah, they're all in different stages. So sometimes it's like closer to the end and I'm working with an editor. Sometimes it's sort of more in the messy middle and I'm working with my agent. Sometimes it's at the beginning and I haven't showed anybody yet.
All right. When you're working on all these different ideas at the same time, have you ever had a situation where you're working on project A and it's kind of getting near the end and you're ready, and then something in project B kind of inspires something and say, oh, it's not going to work in this project, but I could take that idea and put it into the other project?
Not usually, because I feel like all of the projects are so different from each other that it's like they're very separated in my mind and on the whiteboards. But I mean, I'll never say never to something like that happening. I just can't think of an example at the moment.
Right. You mentioned that you started writing middle grade novels when you were in middle grade. Have any of those early novels grown into a published novel?
Oh my goodness, no, never. They will be sitting in a drawer forever. They were not very good, but I needed them. I think when you're starting out writing, you need that practice. And I think a lot of the things that I loved back then are some of the things that still show up in my work now. I actually had, for my very first attempt at a novel, it was a Chosen One story. And now this one, The Incorruptibles, is an anti-Chosen One story. So it kind of has similar interests, similar vibes, but like I can actually tackle the topic now and I know what I'm doing with writing. But yeah, my first attempt was a good try, but a little bit cliche, and I will never let anybody look at it. Although sometimes I do post some snippets on Instagram just for fun so that people can see where I started. So yeah, I actually do let people look at it.
One of the things we love to encourage families is to continue to read with their kids long after they're independent readers. And we love to encourage families to read middle grade novels together, if not out loud, then to co-read and then talk about them on the way to school at the dinner table. In addition to kind of what we talked about earlier, just understanding that the world is gray and not black and white, what other kind of conversations do you think those families can have while they're reading The Incorruptibles?
Yeah, so like I said, it's good versus evil, but with nuance. There's also a lot about inclusivity in there. There's a lot about teamwork. They really have to band together and learn how to cooperate, which is a struggle at first, but then they learn how to do it. And I think that that's also really important. It's a lot about grit and determination and courage in the face of insurmountable odds. And it's also a lot about power dynamics, how power works and how it corrupts. So I think all of these are really relevant conversations nowadays. And I think they're all really important conversations to have with your kids.
Really important conversations. And I love that reading with our kids gives us a chance to get into these topics without having the talk. Or, you know.
Absolutely. I actually used to read with my mom up through high school. I mean, it started out as her reading out loud to me. Then we would read out loud to each other. Then we would do this thing where we would both share a copy of the book and read silently next to each other. And when we were ready to turn the page, we'd both put our finger on the page. So we would both know when to turn the page together, which was kind of funny. We should have just bought 2 copies, but, it was cute. It was fun. I remember it very well. And, we were keeping pace with each other so that, we could have discussions about it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's cute. Have you ever imagined that maybe there's a mother and daughter out there somewhere that are turning your pages together?
That would be so nice. I would love that. If that's you, please message me. Let me know.
I'm sure your publisher would prefer them buying 2 books, but I think that's a nice, I love that idea.
Yeah, it's really cute. And also, the Incorruptibles has a really amazing audiobook version. So if you're driving in the car, that would be a really great thing to listen to as well.
Now, did you voice the audiobook?
Oh my gosh, no. I would love to voice an audiobook one day, but I'm actually not an actress. I wanted to be an actress when I was little, and then my mom actually kind of convinced me away from acting. She said that she didn't want me to be in a career where I was rejected all the time. And the funny thing is being a writer, I'm rejected all the time. So every time I get a rejection, I call her up and I'm like, look, I could have been acting right now.
Yes. I love that. Yeah, Mom. Hey, Mom, it happened again. Thanks for your advice.
Another rejection.
Well, oh boy, you were talking about reading the Incorruptibles together is a great way to talk about resilience and grit. And I think parents they want the best for their kids. They don't want them to feel pain. But I think we forget that we also want our kids to be strong and to be able to pivot and go to plan B if need be, or have plan B in their pocket if they need to. Yeah,
I also think that courage looks different for different people, operates in different ways. So I try to display in my books as many versions of courage that I can find.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Is there a topic so far that you really would love to kind of dive into, but you haven't found the right story to go with it yet?
Oh, goodness. That's a great question. I'm not sure. There's always like story seedlings that I'm playing around with, and like sometimes they'll mash up in my brain. Like I'll think of, this internal plot versus this external plot. And if that's not working together, then I'll like kind of play musical chairs with different seedlings of ideas in my mind until eventually like something coalesces into a stronger idea. I think the Incorruptibles kind of started like that. I didn't realize how much this was going to be about good and evil, about power, about resilience, until I think maybe like the 3rd or 4th version of this book that I was writing. I actually started working on it in 2019. And the first version of it, I tried to do a graphic novel because it's so action-packed that I thought it would look really cool, drawn out. But it just didn't really work. And I think I was missing some really important elements that didn't come until I started writing in a 3rd-person limited perspective and found Fiora's voice. And then it just sort of evolved into something that I didn't even know it was going to become.
One of the things that I've heard authors tell me over the years is that their main character surprised them. I was really surprised when she did this. Is there anything that Fiora did that really surprised you?
Well, she's really curious, sometimes like almost too curious for her own good. She like snoops around in stuff that she's not supposed to snoop around in. She eavesdrops a bit. And sometimes I wanted to be like, to pull her back and be like, come on, that you're crossing a boundary here. But she doesn't know what a boundary is. So yeah, she just keeps crossing it, and sometimes gets her friends mad when she crosses those boundaries. which I also think is important to show, like, she's not perfect by any means. Like, she's got a lot of character flaws, but I think that's what makes a character feel textured and real.
Yeah. We should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about the Incorruptibles and find out more about you.
Well, you can go to my website, which is laurenmagaziner.com. You can follow me on social media, sign up for my newsletter. You can find the Incorruptibles in bookstores, wherever books are sold, or via audiobook, as I said before. And I hope you enjoy it.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of The Incorruptibles. It's a brand new middle grade novel from our guest, Lauren Magaziner. Hey, Lauren, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
My friends, if you have ever thought about owning a business that's fun, rewarding, and makes a valuable contribution to kids' education, well, Brooklyn Robot Foundry is calling your name. I recently met Jenny Young. She's the founder of Brooklyn Robot Foundry. And let me tell you, she is incredible. Her passion for getting kids excited about STEAM, that's STEM plus art, it's contagious. I'm telling you. This isn't your average kids program. Brooklyn Robot Foundry is all about hands-on, screen-free STEAM fun. These kids get to build a different robot each class and take it home with them afterwards. Kids love it. Parents are raving about it. And now you can own a franchise and bring this incredible experience to families in your community. Now, this isn't your typical franchise. Brooklyn Robot Foundry is a mobile, flexible business with a deep curriculum that's making a real impact in schools and communities around the country. Franchise owners get a proven curriculum, full training, and support from a passionate team. So what are you waiting for? Please visit bit.ly/RobotJed. That's bit.ly/RobotJed. And let them know you heard about it on Reading with Your Kids.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
855-325-1823. 855-325-1823. That's 855-325-1823.
Hey, my friends, would you like to bring a little warmth and magic into your home? Let me introduce you to Welsh Mountain Candles, hand-poured on a working Amish farm in Lancaster County. These all-natural, toxin-free candles are made from palm wax with a stunning crystallized glow, rich coconut apricot wax for a creamy finish, and essential oils for a pure, refreshing scent. Whether you're winding down, setting the mood, or just love a great candle, Welsh Mountain Candles are crafted with care and made to be shared. Visit WelshMountainCandles.com. Use the promo code JED10 for 10% off your order today. Light up your home with Welsh Mountain Candles, where every candle tells a story. Join us right now from the beautiful city of Philadelphia. Our guest is here today to celebrate, I think, a really important series. It's called the Next Up series. We're going to be starting by talking about The Air Came to a Stop. Please welcome to the show, Ryan Kiscaden. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so thankful to be here and can't wait to talk to you about this children's book series.
I'm excited because this book series is encouraging kids and their families to consider the trades. Instead of jumping into a 4-year, very expensive college experience, let's go out and learn a trade.
That's exactly right. So I wrote two children's books around plumbing and HVAC. So the idea was to sort of introduce kids early to words in the industry. So things such as water heaters and ductwork and thermostats, but also to really showcase the technicians that do this work as heroes of our everyday comfort. You know, people that we should be appreciating more as the noble and necessary work that they're doing. And simply, we don't spend enough time really acknowledging that. And as you alluded to, it's really to try to change some hearts and minds around guardians and readers as well, that these are careers that our children should at least be introduced to, and if not, possibly even steered towards.
You know, one of the things that we've talked about here in regards to financial literacy is that, you know, a lot of people say, well, why are you talking to your 5-year-old about finance? That can come later. The reality is, we're talking to our kids about college and making that they have to go to college from a very, very young age. And so for me, it's like, well, you got to talk to kids. While you're talking to your kids about got to get into a great college, you got to get, you know, you need to sit down and say, you know, it's really expensive and you have to make good choices. And the same thing with the trade, you know, so we're not encouraging kids to really think about it. We're telling kids from a very young age, you got to go to college, you got to go to college, you got to go to college. And I don't think that's very helpful. There's a lot of young people out there, I think, who are regretting some of the decisions they made.
Yeah, and I think, too, the biggest thing is parents and guardians are role models, right? It's usually their first hero. It's the first person that they look up to. And quite frankly, you know, stories like this, and as you alluded to, even the literary financial ones, also are just going to give an opportunity to tell the side of this that maybe the parent doesn't know as well, or maybe they themselves, you know, maybe were directed a certain way. So the idea there is that with these books, it tells the story of the industry, the ability to get plumbers and HVAC technicians, in this case, really in front of these kids, like they're solving problems and they're actually helping us. And it's, at times, maybe we don't realize that. And certainly the kids don't. If, you know, the water stops at home and we call a plumber to fix it, that they're coming in and actually handling our issues safely, efficiently, and certainly probably more quicker than the parents can in most cases. So that's really the idea. And look, some of the words can be a little tough, you know, in terms of industry knowledge, but generally it's funny because now my 6-year-old, he looks at a book like I've written and he goes, Dad, that's PEX pipe. It's like, wow, you actually recognize that. Or, you know, things like, you know, a water heater. These become, you know, obsessions as somebody perhaps like me that's in our industry, and those that are in the industry kind of always do. They point out either the buildings and the homes that they've worked in because they're so proud of that, you know, to the fact that they see certain things out in their daily lives. But that's really what this is for, is to really encourage kids to really understand it sooner and earlier and be introduced to it in a not a negative way, but a more positive light, because I don't think that society has really helped us there much, quite frankly. You know, we've moved towards an environment now with skilled trades not being looked down upon. We have a long way to go, but generally speaking, having those stories show a positive light to the kids is actually more impactful than I think even the parents can acknowledge. And look, the parents and readers of this series, the feedback I get is that the stories are telling maybe what they know or maybe they didn't know about this industry, particularly the contractor community. Contractors are consistently telling me, I don't think I could have told the story about what I do every day as well without a book like this.
Yeah. Well, I love it. And I love the idea of presenting plumbers and skilled trades people as heroes. Because when you think about it, they really are. You know, there have been times we've been very blessed in our home, but there was a time right here in the studio when, unbeknownst to us, every time we were running our washing machine, it was coming up the toilet.
Yeah.
Our basement. And I didn't realize it until I walked downstairs and stepped in a puddle.
Right.
You know? And the basement was flooded, and we had to get those techniques. And I had absolutely no idea what to do. I had no idea how to even shut off the water in the house.
Yeah.
So they certainly were heroes, and there have been other times when skilled tradespeople have come and saved us.
Yeah, and it's funny because these are professionals. It's as you alluded to, these are people that deal with these problems multiple times a day. They're able to kind of assess, how to fix them quickly, but again, more efficiently, probably than we can and safely, which is just as important. But, the other part of it too, when I think about where technicians are really, we've really looked down on them is around this perception is that these jobs are just, anyone can do them dare I even mention the dirty component, they're backbreaking. And the reality is, as society has moved in the last 20, 30, 40 years, these jobs have changed. They're more now about things like integrated smart technologies. So like particularly on the plumbing space and HVAC, a lot of these systems have integrated components. Again, I think about my two sons at home who love to spend time, in front of playing games and video games and computers. They're learning like that. These systems have all those things, completely in there. In addition to complementing things like hand skills, being able to fix things with your hands, really assessing that. And so, it's just, we have to change those perceptions that these jobs are really for not the brightest of the bright, when really they are, and they're changing quickly, as we move forward, in society.
It's interesting. You said something that I've recently heard, that the whole idea of, it's backbreaking work, and that poor guy, he's making money right now, but boy, his body's going to take a beating. And, when he gets to be 60, 65, he's going to be really unhappy. I don't know about you, but I'm hearing that sitting is the new smoking, and sitting in an office all day long, and ain't that healthy.
That's right. Yeah, look, too much of anything is a bad thing. So it's certainly like too much work in the field, too much time sitting. That nothing, you have to balance that, take breaks, rest, right? And all those things are important in whatever career you choose. My point being, I think what I've not acknowledged with our contractors and people that I spend time with is that they're really investing into that ergonomics and making sure people have time and breaks. And they do that with scheduling. Look, these jobs used to be 60, 70, 80 hours, certainly. And I don't want to diminish that. The people that put their time in have knee problems, back problems. Like, that's a legit concern. But the reality is that the next generation, the generation after that, are doing something about it, right? They're looking at how do you balance work? How do you make sure that we do things more efficiently, maybe with scheduling software? To, again, the connectivity of these products is more important than ever. So all those come together into this story of it's not maybe what people think those jobs used to be for plumbing and HVAC. And they're no longer, again, the terms I've heard, the rejects of society, the butt crack plumbers. These aren't the types of people that are going to fill these jobs in the future. It's the people that we're going to be, as I saw from one advertisement, we're going to make sure that steal them away from college, or make sure that we don't fail them to have to go to college. Instead, they're choosing to go there. It's where they see their best use, and they're going to be satisfied with that work.
Now, I'm assuming, based on our conversation and your passion, that you are a skilled tradesman yourself.
So funny enough, I am not, but 15 years in the industry, I know I can relate. I think a lot of authors and maybe artists are kind of like this, is like either you're it or you can kind of relate. So, my brother-in-law is a master plumber, in New Jersey. My dad was an electrician. So, and I've been in 15 years now in the plumbing and HVAC industry in different roles, wholesale to manufacturing. So I've dealt with and worked directly with contractors my whole career. I sympathize with them. Maybe in my next life, I will be a contractor, but until then, I'm telling their story about how good this work can be and make people feel.
Well, I'm happy that you're doing it. Are you planning on covering other trades? I know you do plumbing and HVAC. Are we looking to get into electrical work and all that?
Yeah, great question. So it's always been my vision that I wanted to do what's called MEP, so mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So the idea would be is that to round out the series, to have the electrical book as well, sort of complement the package. But I'll be honest, a lot of my work today is around HVAC outreach. There's a lot of great things that we're doing with these educational toolkits now for educators to, again, community events. I might be stuck in plumbing and HVAC for a while, which is a good problem to have. But in my heart, I believe an electrical book would help round out the series and really try to tell that story of complementary trades. And the other thing I would say, too, is when you think about the technology, the HVAC equipment in this case, a mini split is a great example. You need all three of those skill sets, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC, to really set up those products right. Between the HVAC side to test, charge with refrigerant, plumbing for the drainage, right, if there's condensation or other things, and obviously electrical to hook it up into the home's panel. So the idea is to really connect all three of those trades together. And also in the industry, there's a lot of consolidation. So you have plumbing, HVAC, and electrical, joint ventures to like people like kind of combining forces with different skills to become one, or again, taking on new lines of business. So the HVAC company may also now be doing plumbing, replacing your water heater, and vice versa. So I think that's why I'm like, this all kind of lines up, and I think there's three that could really make the series work.
What was it that inspired you to sit down? I understand I want to encourage my kids to look at the trades and consider everything.
Sure.
I understand, maybe watching Mike Rowe and go, yeah, Mike, I agree with you. Dirty jobs are cool. But what actually got you to get up off the couch and sit down behind the keyboard and create the series?
Great question. And it's probably one of my most passionate answers is that when I look around and I listen, so I've been 15 years in this industry, what I see is a lot of conversations about, we have a workforce challenge, we have an issue, and yet all we were doing was staying inside the echo chamber. It was, we're going to talk to our industry people, we're going to talk to our trade associations, but that doesn't really do enough to get out there and into the community. And so my version of that and giving back is, we got to go tell the story about why these technicians are so great, why this work is, emotionally rewarding. Because, a lot of the messaging you get out there, even now with skilled trades and apprenticeship programs, is funding and dollars, which is a financial message, which is, by the way, very important and not one to diminish, right? Less the debt coming into a college or maybe just do a 2 years degree to then in turn make a lot in this career. Financial messages or work, that's great. But nobody was telling the emotional message. The emotional message is, if you want to work in a job every day that you help other people and then you leave a job after you've solved their problem, that's what this is for. It's a feeling of accomplishment. It's a feeling of helping others. It's a feeling of being appreciated, which again, hopefully the series and the people that do this, realize and we acknowledge. But that's why. So my version of this was, you have to tell both sides. Financial is important, but emotional messaging and emotional connection to the work being completed and appreciated and acknowledged was really why I just felt so passionate that we had to tell this story. And the other thing I would say, Jed, is we looked at the middle school. I looked at middle school, high school. Again, a lot of that is almost like, hey, they're almost close to making their decision in terms of what they want to do with their career. That's too late, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. How to start sooner. Kids book is the way to do that, to get it in front of the children and the parents and the readers. That's why I've kind of made those decisions I did. But again, those emotional benefits just are so big. We don't talk enough about them. It's time that we do that.
I do really love that. And I've never thought the way you just presented it, a skilled tradesman is presented with a problem. They need to ask themselves how best to solve this problem. And then they're able to solve it in a day or maybe a week or whatnot, and leave the job, leave the family happy, and leave the job and go home with a series of accomplishment.
Yeah, there's only a few professions that, you think about. People come to you in an emergency and they're high stress, high anxiety, and you leave them solved, comfortable, and you've really, gone through those exercises with your expertise to finish work. Maybe doctors come to mind. Maybe you're sick, you go to the doctor, you get better. This is one of those industries that's just like that. You have an emergency air conditioning issue. You're fretting. It's, maybe it's July 4th and you're like, hey, it's got to get that air conditioning fixed. And, you're really in a bad spot and you need help. And if you're that contractor that comes in and helps that job, again, you may not feel it up front because maybe you're going to feel like, oh, this is hard. I'm taking a call when somebody's really high stressed, et cetera. But I would be remiss if you didn't say and really look back on those jobs as a contractor and others and go, wait, I did solve their problem 8 times out of 10. Like they're happy with the solution. I really, fulfilled what the need was here, and that in turn should make you feel good. Again, I just look to people that I know that do work, buildings that they've done, and, huge schools and construction, and it's a source of pride. They look at this stuff like, wow, did you see the way that I ran, the mini split line outside, or that heat pump air conditioner? They point to those jobs, and they point to some of these rooms, these mechanical rooms are now artwork, and they look at it like, because it's so clean of a job and, perfectly connected and put in with hangers and struts. And, that's the kind of thing that a lot of people don't really appreciate, but is that workmanship, the craftsmanship of that job. And so that's why. And so I just felt like we got to really tell that is how do you get that up?
Yeah. And, another thing, one of the things I hear, especially in the world of kidlit, is a lot of people are worried about AI, and boy,
Sure.
AI are creating these illustrations and they're writing books, and I'm going to lose my job. I don't think GPT is going to come over and fix my toilet.
Yeah, that's exactly right. These are non-exportable jobs, right? They're really immune from automation. So when you think about the work that these folks are doing, there really is no self-install water heater today. There's really no self-install furnace. There's self-install refrigerators, certainly, right? But even then, you still need a water line connected in most cases. So, do I think the industry will go there someday in terms, will these things be self-install? Perhaps. Like, truly, I believe we might be. But until that happens, you have decades of product that needs to be installed, maintained, retrofit, replaced. And the other thing is a lot of the equipment, right? So air conditioners and furnaces and water heaters, they last between 10 to 15 years on average. So even if you were to put one in now, you're going to be waiting a 10 to 15 year life cycle to replace these things. So no, I mean, yes, AI will help in terms of the smartness, I'll call it, the connectivity, the diagnostics, the remote monitoring. But when the thing actually needs to be fixed and repaired, you will still need a human today to touch them. So it is also a recession-resistant industry as well.
Yeah. You mentioned water heater. I have to tell you, Ryan, when we bought this home, the original water heater was in the home and it was working. Over 50 years old.
Isn't that amazing?
It was beautiful, and it ran in our home for about 15 years. And finally, and it was still running when we said, we don't want to chance it. We got to replace it. And then we replaced it, and we're on our second new water heater in 10 years. So
yep. Yeah, quality changes. I hate to say it's just like any other industry, quality changes. Steel and the grade of it will change over time and degrade. So certainly it's not the way it used to be. But also too, I mean, I will say this is another reason I wrote this book, which is an unintended reason, is the reason we need more workers is the installation of these units matter. You need a quality installation, every product, every time. And not everybody has the same level of quality because, again, it's not automated today, to your point, right? I don't know that we'll ever truly get there. But, as we try to move the industry forward, we need people that are smart, motivated, and people that really appreciate a good day, like quality work. And then, again, knowing that at the end, you're going to get paid handsomely for that. And you're also going to be rewarded by feeling good when you finish those jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. How does it feel now that you're, we're talking about finishing a job and the skilled tradesmen go home knowing that they fixed the problem, they solved somebody's problem, they can feel good about that. How does it feel? You saw a problem, you kind of came together with your skills and created this book series.
Sure.
How does it feel now that you are starting to solve the problem?
What's funny is, I've gotten some people that have reached out and they'll say things like, you're making a difference, keep going, keep at it, right? And so I don't know that you ever truly finish launching a book, as you probably well know too, Jed. It's like you do all the project management of the actual book. You've done the graphic design, the manuscript, you've gotten all the legal stuff covered. You go to launch it, and then you go, wait, now I got to promote it. Promote it is a durable activity, as I like to call it. It's evergreen. So there's so many times and opportunities that you get a chance to talk about these things, whether or not you're going to keep working hard at it and keep going. But then what happens is you continue to go, then you get inspired for the next idea and the next thing. But look, I would be remiss, seriously, if I didn't mention these two things really quick as far as writing books. One is it's all about support systems. I'm a highly motivated person. I chose to write a book on the side. I still have a day job, right? But every step along the way, I was like, am I sure I'm doing the right thing? This is a crazy idea, right? And I had a great support system of my wife, my immediate family, my neighbors, the industry that I work in. I would get to a certain point and get frustrated or just ready to call it quits. And they just kept saying, you got to keep going. This is a good idea. It's going to mean something at the end. Keep going. And, you're making a difference was sort of like the message I got a lot throughout as I was making the book. And even now, I have a beautiful story I'll share quickly with the listeners. So I got a call from someone based in Canada. They are part of a certain provincial construction association. And the woman says, look, I got to tell you this quick story. My 5-year-old son, he loves your books, right? And we read them every night, which is awesome. Okay. But she goes, and so funny enough, the water in our building broke. And so I was telling my 5-year-old son about this, and he goes, well, don't worry, Mom. I've read the book. I know how to fix it. Just take me to the jobs. And that's exactly what we want, right? That inspiration to he was never exposed to this prior. Even though Mom's in the business, she's like, I didn't know how to tell him what we do in the construction industry. Because again, they think very technical. It's very specific. But when you break it down, there's a theme there. There's a storyline, which is still about, again, that idea about fixing a problem and being there to help put it to a conclusion. But those are the kind of stories that make me want to keep going, make me want to keep writing, make me want to keep at it. And all it takes is one little anecdote, right? One little email, one little comment online, one thing, and that just keeps you just motivated. But that's what it's really all about, is that you're trying to make a difference. Yeah.
Well, let's make a difference in people's lives and tell everybody where they can go to find out more about the Next Up series.
Oh, that's such a great question. Thank you. And thank you for having me on, Jed. But the book can be found on www.nextuptrades.com. So that's the website that this is listed on. The book is also available on Amazon for purchase. And if you're interested in the HVAC book, we have some additional materials there. So The Air Came to a Stop is the name of the book. That book is actually sponsored by the Air Conditioning Contractors of America that have done an amazing job with support for this. But they have both an English version of the book, a Spanish version of that book on their web store for anybody, including their members, contracting members. And also, we just launched educational toolkits. So these toolkits have one copy of the book, 20 coloring sheets for an activity, 20 book bag pins, and 20 marker sets for K through 5 is the age range. And we're recently about to launch curriculum as well. So if you're a first grade educator, that book can be made available to you as well. All that's on nextuptrades.com. So please feel free to check that out.
We've had a really great time speaking to the author of the Next Up series. Our guest has been Ryan Kiscaden.
All right.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Jed. Really appreciate it.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. Hey, if you loved reading with your kids, if this episode meant something to you, if you learned something from it, if you just had fun listening to it, we really hope that you would consider sending a link from this show to one of your family or friends, maybe your kids' teachers, their librarian, just whoever you think might enjoy it. We'd really appreciate it if you could send a link. And also, if you love this show, please consider leaving a 5-star review wherever you find Reading with Your Kids. We'd love to talk to you on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, and at GentlyMagic on X. We have a great YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. We have a great website, readingwithyourkids.com. If you are an author, you absolutely want to visit readingwithyourkids.com and click on the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page to find out how you can be a guest here in the show and tell thousands of Kidlit fans all over the world about your fantastic children's book. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Lauren Magaziner. Please be sure to check out the Incorruptibles. Also want to thank Ryan Kiscaden. Please be sure to check out The Air Came to a Stop, part of his Next Up picture book series. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Rory Grady, Stella Sheree. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.
show.